necessarily mean that the person, the casualty, is dead. It could be someone who has been killed or injured. And so the number of casualties at this point, we don't know. We have not gotten that information, but we have seen so many ambulances. Adam was talking about 6 to 8 ambulances that he had witnessed himself, just sort of, speeding away from the scene. We also did witness someone put it into a helicopter and choppered to Grady Memorial Hospital. This is video, not live, but video of one of those airvacs, the one that has a patient in it that left the scene. This is probably about an hour or so ago that this took place. And so the original calls, just to catch you up here at 12:40 on this Wednesday afternoon, the original calls came in just after 10:20 this morning. Reports of gunfire at Appalachia High School. Police then responded to those calls, and we've gotten this statement from the Barrow County Sheriff's Department as we take a look at these live pictures of parents walking to the campus of Appalachia High School to be reunited. They're praying with their children. That at approximately 10:23, officers from multiple law enforcement agencies and fire EMS personnel were dispatched to the high school in reference to a reported active shooting. One suspect is in custody and casualties have been reported. Details on the number or their conditions is not available at this time. And again, this is video. These are not live pictures. This is video that we've been gathering over the last 90 minutes or so since we first went on the air with this, showing you the scene, which at various times has been active or I don't want to say inactive, because obviously there's a lot going on there. Right. But we've seen a lot of law enforcement sort of walking around without the sense of urgency that you would expect if there was an active shooter still at large. And when we say that there's one person in custody, we don't know whether or not there are any other suspects that they're looking for. So again, a lot of information we don't know, a lot of rumors flying around on social media. We're going to stick to the facts and report that to you as we take a look at these pictures. Again, video from moments ago, not live, of that law enforcement officer who was armed walking towards the building, some of the other law enforcement vehicles that were brought to the scene.
And as far as that one suspect who is in custody right now, we have not been
This is a CBS News special report. I'm Nora O'Donnell in New York, and we are coming on the air with breaking news with another school shooting. This time about 45 miles northeast of Atlanta in Barrow County, Georgia. Now, the local sheriff's department said a suspect is in custody, and there are reports of casualties. Police say the alleged shooting occurred at about 10:23 a.m. at Appalachia High School, which has about 1,900 students. So it is a big high school. Parents, we're told, are now allowed to go to the campus and pick up their students. Georgia's Governor Brian Kemp issued a statement saying he has directed all available state resources to respond to the incident. The FBI's Atlanta office said it has agents on the scene to help coordinate and support local law enforcement efforts. CBS's Jared Eggleston is on the scene in Georgia, and he joins us now with the very latest. Jared, tell us what you see. What happened this morning?
Nora, good afternoon. Out here on the scene right now, it's still very active, a very chaotic scene. Within the last few minutes, even another life flight helicopter landed here on the property of the school that you can see just over my shoulder. Now, parents here on the scene, they swarmed here. As I got here, there were cars in about every mile, about a mile radius around the school, with parents just leaving their cars on the side of the road so that they could rush to the school to be reunified with their students. Now, I've been talking with some of the parents as I've been out here over the last half hour or so, and a lot of them are just anxiously awaiting the return of their students. And as you mentioned, Nora, the school is working on reunifying the students and their families right now.
Jared, can you describe how many ambulances were on the scene? How many of those life flight helicopters have you seen?
I've seen at least two circling the school since I got here. And like I said, one of them actually landed. I would say at least 30 to 50 ambulances are here on the scene. They're still here on the scene right now. Some of them have started to leave even just as we've been talking, Nora. But there's a lot of ambulances here and a lot of police responses as well. As I was coming here, there's one highway that will get you to the school. It was constantly more first responders, more ambulances, more police coming to the school to assist with that response.
And Jared, describe the area for us.
This is a rural area outside of Atlanta. If you're familiar with Georgia, it is in between Atlanta and Athens, where the University of Georgia is. This is one of a growing community around Atlanta, one of the bigger areas where a lot of people are moving out in the suburbs. So it is rural, but it is still a very big suburb of Atlanta. And as you said, Nora, this is also one of the bigger high schools in the county.
How long have parents been able to come and pick up their students? When did the lockdown end?
The lockdown ended about, I would say, a half hour, 45 minutes ago. Right when I got on the scene was when the school district actually made a release saying that an incident did happen here at this school and that parents would then be able to be reunified with their students. And as I've been standing here, the police keep directing the families towards that scene where they want everyone to kind of meet that reunification point. But a lot of people, as you know, Nora, are just so nervous about what has happened here right now. So that has led to some of the chaos that we're still seeing here on the scene.
CBS's Jared Eggleston on the scene, this developing situation. Just to repeat, one suspect in custody at this hour. There are casualties, and as Jared described, dozens, in his words, of ambulances were on the scene, including those helicopters, to help with some of those casualties. Want to bring in now our CBS News law enforcement expert, Rodney Harrison. He is a former police commissioner from the New York City area. And Rodney, now that this suspect is in custody, what are the next steps for law enforcement?
Yeah, so we have to take a closer look at our subject and identify, is he a lone wolf? Is he involved with somebody else? Was he put up to this? Also, we have to take a look at the other local schools and make sure that those schools are evacuated as well. So we have to find out what was the motive, what caused this individual to be involved with this active shooter and do such a horrible incident, but also make sure that the surrounding schools are safe going forward. And that's important regarding getting kids out of the schools, evacuating those schools, and getting them home safely to their families.
Mm-hmm. And Rodney, this has become all too common in America, these school shootings. What is the profile of a school shooter like this?
You know, it's unfortunate that these school shooters come in different forms and fashion and different sizes and different shapes. Listen, you know, it could be anything from someone being bullied at school to somebody that just wants to use this as a platform to get a message across. So there is no cookie cutter way of looking at anybody that does this act of violence. But I will say this is important, that all local law enforcement work with their local school districts to make sure that they have things in place because these incidents are happening too often.
Our CBS News law enforcement expert, Rodney Harrison, thank you very much. And just to update, one suspect in custody after authorities received a report of an active shooting at Appalachia High School, which is about 45 miles northeast of Atlanta. The school went into lockdown. Number of ambulances and helicopters on the scene to transport casualties to local hospitals. At this hour, according to the local sheriff's office, parents are allowed to come pick up their kids. Our coverage will continue on CBS News 24/7, your local news. And then tonight, we will have a full wrap-up on the CBS Evening News. This has been a CBS News special report. I'm Nora O'Donnell in New York.
These are not live pictures from the scene. This is video that we've gotten over the last hour and a half or so. One of our reporters who's there at the school in front of Appalachia High is Adam Murphy. Adam, fill us in. What are you seeing now?
All right, Rick, so we actually moved to a new location. We're actually on the front lawn area of Appalachia High School. You can see the law enforcement vehicles behind us. That's the front of the school you're looking directly at. We moved into this area because we have been told by law enforcement that this is where they will gather and hold a news briefing. We have not been given a time for that news briefing, but we have repositioned ourselves to be in place once they come out and provide some updated information. I can tell you, if you look to your left, you will notice the football stadium kind of behind the school, and that is where all the students were taken once there was an active shooter reported and the school went down, or went on lockdown, I should say. Everybody was taken from the inside of the school back over there to the football stadium in the stands, and that is where we've seen many parents making their way over there to check on their children. I have had an opportunity to speak with a few parents and others who have children that attend this school. One woman just moments ago declined to talk on camera, but did tell me in a very emotional response that it's been a very difficult day for her loved one that was in the school, and out of respect for the child, she decided that it was probably not best to discuss what she may have experienced or witnessed. And that's kind of the theme I've run into here. I think everybody's still in shock, as you would imagine. I mean, it's such a traumatic thing. You know, you talk about anyone that has children. I mean, this is definitely a worst case, worst nightmare scenario for any parent to have to deal with. And so we're just trying to make sure that we respect their space, but also provide any updated information as it becomes available. Again, several law enforcement agencies are here. We've heard multiple reports that we know one individual, right, was arrested and taken into custody, you know, as a potential shooter. But we don't know if there were others involved. And we have seen a number of rescue units, emergency personnel, ambulances come and go throughout the afternoon. Now, we've sort of reached a bit of a stall or a quiet point here where there hasn't been a lot of activity. I reported earlier that there was a helicopter that flew in and it transported at least one individual earlier and then came back, but it's still sitting out on the front lawn near the flagpole and has not left since we reported that over a half an hour ago. So I think it's probably here in the event that it needs to take anyone to a level 1 trauma center like Grady in an emergency situation, but it still remains here. That chopper does, that medic unit. So we're going to continue to hold tight here, see if we can speak with any other parents that are arriving, and also hope that we get some new information from law enforcement very soon. And as soon as that happens, we will carry that live for you right here on Atlanta News First, guys.
All right, Adam, thanks very much. Yeah, as a parent of high school students myself, not at this school, but in Fulton County, it is difficult to report on these types of situations. And I know from my own kids that they do go through these active shooter drills, not just high school students, but through all ages of kids here. They go through these active shooter drills where the school lets parents know, tomorrow we're going to be doing this, just so you know, your child's going to be taking part in one of these drills. And so this is something that schools prepare for, and of course this is something, as we were hearing from Andy, that law enforcement prepares for. Right. That is mandated by law. We also will wait for some information on SROs, school resource officers, who are assigned to this school. We don't know exactly what their role was in the response to this, but often, you know, they are the first responders because they're there when an emergency actually takes place, as opposed to other law enforcement that has to arrive at the scene. And we know from the terrible situation in Parkland, Florida, for example, where the school resource officer did not go into the school after hearing gunshots. So that was a big controversy, understandably, that involved lawsuits, in fact, in Parkland, Florida. But take a look at these pictures now. You can see that chopper that Adam was talking about that had flown a patient earlier to Grady Memorial Hospital and then flew back. It looked like the same chopper, the one that we saw take off earlier. So it might, in fact, be that same helicopter that that has not been loaded up with any additional patients to transport at this point. We are hearing from the White House press office that President Biden has been briefed by his Homeland Security advisor on the tragic shooting at Appalachia High School in Winder, Georgia, and the administration will continue coordinating with federal, state, and local officials as we receive more information. That is the statement from the White House. And so the president has been briefed, and we have seen FBI, federal law enforcement there on the scene amongst all the other law enforcement officers.
And we have Atlanta News First anchor Brooks Baptiste standing by as well. Brooks, you have more information about what Atlanta's mayor has said. Actually, we just lost Brooks, but I can tell you that Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens released a statement moments ago, and it says, "My prayers are with the high school students, staff, and families affected by the senseless act of violence in Winder, Georgia. I have been in contact with Chief Shearbaum, and the Atlanta Police Department has been working with the Atlanta Public Schools Police Department to bolster patrols around our schools for the rest of the day out of an abundance of caution. APD has also been on standby in case law enforcement agencies need assistance with this incident. May God comfort the victims and their loved ones in the difficult days ahead." And it has obviously been a very difficult day for the parents and loved ones of students and staff at this school as everybody tries to make sense of what's going on here. Again, we have confirmed there are multiple victims involved in this shooting. Some were transported to local area hospitals there in Winder. One was airlifted to the hospital here in our area, to Grady Memorial Hospital, which we know is a level 1 trauma center. And some parents, it seems, may have had contact with their kids. Others are still trying to reach out to their kids. There's a lot of chaos and a lot of questions at this hour that we are here for you with team coverage as we sort these things out.
Yeah, and we're going to stick to the facts, what we've been able to confirm. We know that there's a lot being circulated on social media. We are going to report what we can tell you as fact, what we've gathered from our trusted sources. We do know, again, that one person is in custody. We don't know anything about the person in custody. We don't know if it's a male or a female or a student or a former student. We have no information on that at all. But one person is in custody, according to law enforcement. And we've seen hundreds of students and faculty members brought to that football field that you see right there on the screen. And this is where parents are being told to go to gather their students. And we have seen parents walking, some of them from a mile or so away, having had to park their car and walk on foot to get close enough to be able to get to the campus. This is video from a little while ago, not live, but we have seen a contingent of law enforcement officers. At one point here, we're seeing video of what looked like law enforcement officers entering into the school building in some type of active formation, but we didn't learn anything more about what happened once they got inside the building. So, as Lana said, there are a lot of questions. We're going to get you the answers, and when we can report something, we will do so, but we are not going to speculate at all at this point. Brooks Baptiste has been covering this story from the beginning. And Brooks, as we take a look at this video now and we are waiting for more information, it really is just a tragic day. These kids now are part of a club that no kid wants to be a member of, to be a student at a school where there's been a school shooting.
Yeah, Rick and Lana, you know, this is just an awful and terrifying situation. I think we could all agree there. We are getting a lot of reaction that is pouring into the newsroom, and we are bringing those statements to you directly. So we are told that President Joe Biden has spoken with his Homeland Security advisor. The White House says his administration is going to continue coordinating with federal, state, and local officials. And that reaction is pouring in right now. Governor Brian Kemp saying that he is directing state resources to respond, and he's encouraging prayer. And prayer seems to be a common sentiment among most of the people who are speaking out about this awful situation here. Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens also releasing a statement saying, quote, "My prayers are with the high school students, staff, and families affected by the senseless act of violence in Winder, Georgia. I have been in contact with Chief Shearbaum, and the Atlanta Police Department has been working with the Atlanta Public Schools Police Department to bolster patrols around our schools for the rest of the day out of an abundance of caution." Also been on standby. APD has been on standby in case law enforcement agencies need assistance with this incident. The mayor went on to say, may God comfort the victims and their loved ones in the difficult days ahead. So again, guys, between the mayor, also several other officials speaking out right now, just calling for the community to come together in unity, as typically the community does, coming together in prayer and well wishes for all of those who have been impacted by this tragedy.
Yeah, Brooks, thanks for that. In the meantime, parents are worried right now. They are trying to get to their kids right now. So we want to take you back out live to Appalachia High School in Barrow County, where there are still students evacuated at the stadium. There are still a lot of parents trying to get to their kiddos. We have Chelsea Beimfohr out there live with a witness. So, Chelsea, you got a live interview for us. What can you guys tell us?
Yeah, Lana, we have been speaking with parents, but I want to bring in Mark Knotts. He's a witness. He lives across the street from the high school. You don't have any children, Mark, but you said that you live across the street, and just tell us what you heard this morning.
Well, this morning when I woke up, I heard gunshots, and several of them. I couldn't tell exactly how many, so I went outside to smoke my cigarette like I do every morning. And I noticed about 5 minutes after that, cop cars were everywhere. Surrounding counties, surrounding 6 counties were everywhere. I'm talking about 1,000 cop cars. And I knew something was seriously wrong, and then I seen all the cars pulling on the side of the road and everything. And I just, I pray that, everybody's all right, and the people that have passed away, if there has been anybody, I just pray for their families and everything. And like I said, I just had to get away, and I'm just commuting to the store real quick. So,
shortly after you heard those gunshots, did people start coming out of the school?
It was crazy. Like it looked like I didn't really pay no attention to it at first. I was like, this sounded like they were at the school. And I look over, and then the alarms started going off, like the school alarms, and people were going out around the school, and like they're doing like the drill, like the drill, fire drill stuff is what I seen. And then I knew something was seriously wrong. And you don't hear about that happening. You hear about it happening all around the world, but it just shows that it can happen anywhere. And
this community's pretty small, tight knit. I mean, it's usually
there's no seriously gunplay or nothing like that goes on around Bethlehem. It hasn't been for years. It hasn't been that I can remember. And I'm 35 years old, so it's not really likely. So apparently. I don't know. I don't have no details, but apparently something was going on with somebody's mental. So that just shows that people need to be more aware of their children, if it was a child, about their mental state, because nobody never knows what the next man can do.
And those are details we're still trying to work out as far as what happened and what the motive may have been. But thank you so much, Mark, for your time. You as well. And Mark was telling us he lives right across from the high school. He says, of course, it's just been chaos out there this morning. All kinds of police officers, parents, children. He was actually walking towards us with his head down. He said, I just need to step away from this for a little bit. He said he's walking up to the store to just take a breath. I mean, even people that really aren't involved with what happened at the school, this is a very highly emotional time for everybody in this community, guys.
Yeah, Chelsea, he mentioned mental health, and Representative Esther Panich actually did say that today. I know there's still a lot more emphasis on what has happened, but she did note for anybody affected or traumatized by what's happening right now at Appalachia High School, you can dial 988 and get help. This is such a horrible situation. And Chelsea, while we still have you here, I just wanted you to see if you could fill in what you've been hearing from parents. I know we don't have anybody who's willing to go live with you right now. As you can imagine, they are just trying to get to their babies and try to figure out what's going on there. But can you just fill us in of what you've heard from parents that you've talked to as they've rushed by you to get to the school?
Yeah, we spoke with a grandmother who is very distraught. She was walking down the street here. Her grandson is okay, and she's so thankful that he's okay. But she said he was in the room where a classmate was shot. So she's very thankful that her grandson is doing fine. But she says, of course, mentally, this is going to be very hard and something he's not going to forget the rest of his life. We also spoke with another woman who said she was the older sister of a girl here that's 14 years old. And she was also racing down this street here to get there and pick her sister up. She said she was okay, but was completely shaken up. Said she got a phone call from her crying this morning saying there's an active shooter. Please come pick me up. And I think we do have some of that soundbite that we'll play for you now.
Is she okay? Have you talked to her? Yeah, I've talked to her. She's a little nervous. They're on the football field waiting on the parents to come get them. She's very nervous.
Did she hear the gunshot?
I don't know. She didn't tell me. She just called us and said, could you hurry up and come get us? There's an active shooter here. And my first thing was to make sure she was okay. Nobody was hurt. So that's my biggest concern.
When you heard there was an active shooter?
Yeah, my heart started beating. I was actually on my way to go to work. And then I just dropped everything and I just got in the car and I left. The traffic was so bad at the front. I was in the middle of the red light and people were blowing, but there was nothing I could do. So the main thing is to make sure these kids are okay. So
Thank you so much.
you're welcome. Good luck. Be safe.
And you can see we did that interview as she was, almost jogging down to the school. This road here, Tom Miller Road, you can see people walking down it still at this hour, trying to get here, get off work and collect their children from the high school following the shooting that took place here this morning. Again, a lot of parents have made contact with their children and learned that they're okay, but we did speak with another mom who came up to us crying. She said she couldn't get in touch with her son, who's a senior here, was asking us for information, which of course we're still trying to get for everybody at home as well. We know that the sheriff's office is going to be holding a press conference shortly that Adam Murphy will be covering for us, guys.
All right, Chelsea, thanks very much. Your heart goes out to all the parents. That mom who dropped everything to rush, and thank goodness she was able to get in touch with her child who said she was okay. But again, the lasting trauma that these kids will experience as a result of having witnessed such a horrible act is something that will stay with them for a long, long time. There will be time to talk about, mental illness and gun control legislation, possible things that people always talk about after these types of situations. But of course, right now is the time to gather information and so that we can tell you exactly what has taken place. And so we'll leave those discussions for later as we work to learn more about multiple casualties, people who have been injured. We do not know the severity of the injuries. We do know that there are multiple people who have been injured or killed in this incident today, this school shooting in Barrow County. And we're hearing from a number of different adjoining neighboring school districts, sort of again offering their prayers and support, talking about some of the safety procedures that are in place in their schools. And again, a lot of these schools, all of these schools now are mandated to have certain, different barriers, things that have been put in, technology that has been created specifically because of this epidemic of school shootings to fortify school entryways, doors that lock automatically with the push of a button so that someone can't enter the building from a different location. Different special glass that's installed, bulletproof glass used to try to fortify these entryways. And so, again, as we wait to learn more information about this, we'll also learn about some of the safety procedures that were in place at Appalachia High School and exactly how well that safety plan was actually, they were able to carry that out.
Because people will want to know if this could have been prevented. There are so few details out right now. All we know is that one suspect has been taken into custody. There have been no confirmed reports of any other suspects. So we do not know that either way at this point. We don't know the suspect's relation to the school. Is this a former student? Is it a current student? Is it someone who has no business being at the school? That is unconfirmed right now. We also don't have confirmation of how many victims or who those victims are. We are constantly updating our information out here. We're in contact with our producers and the reporters on scene. As soon as we get an update on that, we'll let you know immediately as we're live on air, trying to keep you posted as this is still an active situation. So we have multiple reporters on scene right now. Adam Murphy, Chelsea Beimfohr. We have people in studio here, but we want to get to Yasmina Alston, who is also out there on scene. Yasmina, what can you see from where you are?
Well, Lana, I can tell you that we're about a half a mile from the high school. And if you look behind me, you can see that this is where one of those checkpoints is set up, where officials are letting people know where they need to go. We've seen a ton of parents that have been trying to drive a little bit closer to both the high school and the middle school that are over in this area to get their kids, to check on their kids. You can also see a ton of those families that are making that walk. It's been it's about a mile walk to get from where you see a lot of those cars parked over there to get over to the high school. If you look over here, you can see that there are some people that, you know, are seeing each other as they're making that walk over and checking on one another. These two women here, they just gave each other a hug. I'm assuming they have been looking for each other. And that's sort of what we've run into as we've been standing here and talking to families. They're looking for other people that they may know. They're looking for answers. They're looking for loved ones. Another thing we've run into is a lot of parents that have students at the middle school here on Heyman Morris Road, that middle school that's right next to the high school, because that school is also on lockdown. So you've got parents outside of that school sitting and waiting for answers, waiting to see when they can get their children. A lot of unanswered questions for families who just have no idea when they're going to be able to get their kids. We did have the chance to speak with one woman earlier, and she says that she got a frantic call from her sister who says that her nephew was in the high school at the time of the shooting, and he told his mom that he heard gunshots in the classroom next to his. He, of course, was locked down in his classroom, but that's a terrifying call, a terrifying text to get as a parent. That woman told us she immediately came over here to the school to try and get her nephew. When she got that call, she says, I mean, all sorts of emotions and thoughts ran through her mind. She tells us that's the one call, the one text that no parent, no family member ever wants to get coming from a student at the school. Again, what we're seeing right now is a lot of families, a lot of parents walking to try and get answers. And you can, of course, even from where we are, you can see the large law enforcement presence that is out here as well. And again, there is a checkpoint leading up to the school to tell parents where to go, to tell loved ones where to go. But many are just choosing to make that mile walk to get as close as they can in hopes of learning more about where their child may be.
Thank you, Yasmina. We have an update right now, and it's not a good one. We can confirm the CBS News has confirmed with 2 law enforcement sources that 2 people are dead and possibly 4 injured. The suspect, again, is in custody. That part we knew. But this is new information confirmed by CBS News. 2 people are dead and possibly 4 more injured in this shooting today at Appalachia High School in Barrow County. You're taking a look at law enforcement that is now walking up to microphones to give us an update. Let's take a listen. We'll listen with you to what law enforcement has to say.
Two minutes.
All right, so that is a 2-minute warning. That is just so that the media can get itself ready for this news conference. And you can see there, I'm not sure exactly who that is. I'm going to guess it's the Barrow County Sheriff, but I don't want to
misidentify him. Yeah, but you can see GBI on scene. We know FBI Atlanta is on scene. Multiple law enforcement agencies on scene. Gosh, you can hear our voices breaking just a bit. Again, we have confirmed via CBS News 2 people have died. At least 4 people are injured. We watched live with you as one person was airlifted to Grady Memorial Hospital. We saw ambulances rushing away from the scene. We were told they were going to area hospitals. And again, we have just confirmed, CBS News has confirmed with their law enforcement sources, 2 people have died. 4 people at least are injured in this shooting at Appalachia High School. What a terrible day for our community, for that community, for the loved ones of the people who go to this school or work at this school. We are less than 2 minutes away now from a press conference. As you can see, they're getting set up here right now. Multiple law enforcement on scene right now, and they're going to weigh in on what's going on here today.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Sheriff Judge Smith. I'm the Sheriff of Barrow County Sheriff's Office. We're standing on the campus of Appalachia High School here at Barrow County Schools. First and foremost, I want to lift up our community. I want to give our sympathies to our community, our school system, our kids, our parents that had to witness this today. Obviously, what you see behind us is an evil thing today. At about 9:30 this morning, we received the first call that there was an active shooter on this campus. We're not releasing any information as far as injuries, but we have multiple injuries. This is a very, very fluid investigation. It's very early. And I have asked the assistance of the GBI and the agencies here behind me today, and there are multiple agencies that responded this morning to help us and help the sheriff's office. We do have a suspect in custody, and we are asking for your patience as the media to please let us get the facts that we need to make sure we get this right. Again, I've asked the GBI to help us, the sheriff's office, to help us along with this. I know this is not what you want to hear, but I'm not going to answer questions after this is over with. But I wanted to give you the respect and our community respect to let them know what was going on initially. We're in the process of reunifying our students with their parents. Obviously, that's chaotic, but we want to be respectful of them and their privacy as well. I want to thank the state, the federal agencies, the local agencies that showed up today, as you can see, the multiple EMS and fire from other agencies that responded today. Again, I ask that you lift up Barrow County Schools, lift up Appalachia, lift up our agencies. This is going to take multiple days for us to get answers as to what happened and why this happened. But I wanted to give you a statement. It is our hope, in conjunction with these people behind us, that we can give you another statement around 4 o'clock, because I know you have to go back on the air. That is my hope. But I wanted to be fluid with you all, understanding that it's fluid as well with this investigation. I appreciate you being patient with us. Again, it's very active and is ever developing. Every minute is developing on what we're finding. So we're going to have releases from other schools. Again, we ask that you be patient with us. Please be patient with us. And hopefully I can give you more information or more better information, as you will, if you will, this afternoon. Thank you all for coming out here. We'll be back shortly, okay?
Sheriff, it's been widely reported that people are dead. Is that true?
I'm not releasing any information. We have multiple injuries.
Can you say if the person in custody is an adult or a juvenile?
I'm not releasing any information. Guys, I'm not going to answer any more questions. It's time, okay? Thank you.
That is Sheriff Judd Smith.
Media, I just want to let everyone know that, as the sheriff indicated, right now, the priority right now is trying to get the students back with their families. We will be holding a news conference at 4 o'clock. If you're not already following us on Twitter, X, make sure you're following us. We'll be providing updates then. I know there are a lot of details, investigative details. You want more information. That is what the investigators are actively working on right now. Anything to add?
Yeah, so the idea will be to be back here at 4 o'clock, but keep an eye on our social media. If that changes, you'll know it. We'll be able to address, hopefully answer more questions for you, okay? Or be in a position to give you more answers. We'll just have to see how things
We
go.
just realized this was happening. Tell us how many people, what you know about that.
We're not in any kind of position. The sheriff's made his comments. We'll leave it at that. By 4 o'clock, we hope to have a better picture, a bigger, so you can better comprehend what's going on. Okay, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, representatives from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. We heard from Sheriff Judd Smith, the Barrow County Sheriff, who said that an evil thing happened at Appalachia High School this morning. They got their first call at 9:30 of an active shooter. He said there are multiple injuries. He wouldn't give a specific number. He wouldn't tell us exactly the severity of the injuries. And he said this is a fluid investigation, that a suspect is in custody. He said they're going to take their time. They want to make sure they get this right. Right now they're in the process of reuniting students and parents. He said that is a bit of a chaotic situation, as you can imagine. But he asked the public and, of course, the media to be patient, and he promised more information he hoped to be able to give us at 4 p.m. In a few hours from now. So a little bit frustrating in that we didn't learn anything more, but you really do have to understand that when there is an active, fluid situation, the police certainly don't want to say anything that could jeopardize their investigation. And so we didn't learn a whole lot more there, but at the very least, and he didn't say this, it seems as though the active nature of this incident has passed, and that this person in custody means the end of the threat to people on that campus and in that community.
Right. So, what he didn't say also does tell us a lot about what's going on right now. And he said it himself, that they are finding new information every minute. So it's not that they are just withholding information or they're waiting because they just, don't want to give an update right now. They're trying to make sure they have the facts right. Whatever has gone on at this school today, this morning, has been very difficult for them to investigate, get all of the details together in a succinct and correct manner. So we are going to make sure we do not report anything that is speculative or false information right now. Our goal is to give you the truth and to give you the facts in a very chaotic situation. Now, we have a lot of reporters who are on scene and here in the building digging to get as much information as we can possibly give you, new information. And to continue that is our investigative reporter, Andy Parati.
Yeah, Andy, I'm wondering if you can give us some context. We heard from the sheriff about the active fluid investigation. What are the types of things that they would be doing right now at this early stage?
Where they're going to be talking to as many witnesses as possible, right? People who were in the room when it happened, people who were responding to the shooting, school administrators. One of the things that we started looking into, and a lot of people are probably thinking about as they're taking this is happening. It seems like it's happening a lot. Well, here are the actual numbers that we pulled from an organization called Gun Violence Archive, which is an organization that tracks school-related gun incidents, mostly through media reports. And so far, or from 2022 to present, look at these numbers, 97 incidents, gun-related incidents, just in Georgia. 5 fatalities, 17 injuries, 72 arrests. Again, this is from 2022 to so far in 2024, specifically in Georgia. Nationwide, the numbers are even greater, 575. Those are those numbers that I was just mentioning to you. Again, these numbers 2022 to 2024 so far this year, 97 incidents. Of those 97 gun-related incidents in Georgia schools, 5 fatalities, 17 injuries, 72 arrests. Nationally, the numbers are even greater in 2024 alone. 575 gun-related incidents nationwide, 34 just in Georgia so far this year. A lot of people are asking potentially, how did the gun get in the school? We don't know the answer to that question. We also don't know whether they have metal detectors at this high school. But what we do know is, according to the Student Code of Conduct booklet, the school does have the ability to use handheld metal detectors if they suspect someone at the school, a teacher, a student, potentially has a gun. We also know that every year, according to a new law that went into effect last year called the Safe Schools Act in Georgia, that schools K through 12, not just high schools, are required to have at least one active shooter training drill a year, and that must be conducted by October 1st. Some of those requirements, according to that law, are schools are to report the completion of those drills to the Georgia Emergency Management and Homeland Security Agency, schools to create a school safety plan to reduce the growing number of incidents at schools, much of what you are looking at right now, that action plan in place, so the students evacuated, potentially put in a safe area, law enforcement. All of these plans are made in coordination with the school districts, the schools, the school administrators, local law enforcement. Also, that's something that's required in that new law that went into effect last year, the creation of a state-approved school safety and anti-gang program that allows teachers to train to identify potential gang activity. Guys.
Andy, thank you very much. And while we heard from the sheriff about the multiple injuries, what he did not report was what CBS News has confirmed, which is that 2 people have been killed and possibly as many as 4 people injured. So while the sheriff didn't disclose that information, that is something that we are reporting that's been confirmed by law enforcement sources for CBS News.
Now we have Adam Murphy, who is still on scene. He is right where that press conference just wrapped up. So Adam, what can you tell us? Do we still have you there, Adam?
Very little information for us at this point in time. Yeah, we just heard moments ago from Barrow County Sheriff Judge Smith. He had very little information to share above and beyond what we know at this point, but he did say, quote, what happened here at Appalachia High School in Barrow County today was, quote, an evil thing. He also reported to us there were multiple injuries. Like you said, that there is a suspect in custody. And at this point in time, they are trying to reunify students with their parents. Many of the parents we've talked about in the last hour since we've been broadcasting live out here have arrived on scene, and they have been directed over to the football stadium, which is behind the school. We are also being told that this is a very active and, quote, ever-developing scene here at Appalachia High School in Barrow County, and that they are in the very early stages of this.